Good afternoon and welcome everybody to episode 37 of MSP Business School. Today, our special guest is Craig Taylor, and Craig Taylor runs Cyberhoot. They're a security company, and I'm going to say they're focused around kind of the awareness and policy side of life out there, but I'm going to let Craig dig deeper into that. But, certainly I know one of the things that MSPs struggle with is, okay, security is broad. What does this mean to me with some of the folks we're talking about? So I'm happy to say that Craig's joining us today to educate us a little bit, as well as the same way I'm sure he educates his end users. As always, joining me, it's my two faithful companions here on MSP Business School. I've got Rob Rogers and Tim McNeil here today. How you guys doing?
Doing well, sir.
Doing well.
Beautiful. So Craig, let's kind of start things out. Why don't you formally introduce yourself and your company to our viewers?
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Rob, Tim, great to be on the show with you guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about something that I think every MSP faces today is this onslaught of cyber attack. And what should we do about it? How do we protect our clients? Because our clients are coming to us in a panic. If you're a typical MSP with 50 clients, you're going to have a compromise a month and you're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And what is the fallout from that? Do you lose the client? Do they blame you? So, many years ago, I've been in cybersecurity for 25 years. I've been doing it for Fortune 1000 companies. They've had cyber awareness training buttoned up for as long as I've been in the business. They've been doing training. I worked for a bank. They did it well as well. But I realized as the family security guy, I had all these people referred to me. I have a breach at this SMB. I have a breach at this SMB. I have an email compromise. I have this and that. And I got to thinking 7 years ago, I ought to create a company that does cyber awareness training and cybersecurity program development for the SMB market. Because I think, there are lots of great big companies out there doing a great job on cybersecurity training and awareness and program development, but they're all focused at the 10,000 seats and bigger, the enterprises. And who's suffering most is the SMB. Verizon, Symantec, all the big names in the industry publish articles every year on who gets breached the most. And every time, 15-1, it's SMBs. They don't have a fighting chance. And no product that I could find was suitable in that space to help them with their awareness training. So, I created Cyberhoot to address that gap. I think you're going to ask me about it later, but Cyberhoot is more than just awareness training, though. You asked, Brian. It's a program in a box. It's not enough just to train your employees. You can give them awareness training, but if you don't test them, say with phish testing, you don't know if they're paying attention. So we also have a phish testing module in our tool that you can phish test your employees. We have policies. You need a password policy. Massachusetts has privacy regulations that say you need a WISP or a written information security policy. Cyberhoot, if you come to Cyberhoot, you get templates for all of that, all those policies. There's like 25 templates that you can just cut and paste your company name into the policy and adopt it to govern your employees. The training programs you can assign in like 2 minutes. It's really had to be easy for the SMB community and for the MSP community to support and put their clients into it. So that's kind of Cyberhoot in a nutshell. It's sold through those MSPs. It builds a program. It's fully automated, and it goes out to those MSP clients.
So Craig, let's talk a little bit about the automation, because I think one of the things that separates you from some of the other players in this space is your delivery methodology. It's not forcing the user, if I recall correctly, to a portal, but it's actually kind of forcing the end user to consume the information. So can you expand a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think one of the uniques, right? What if you write a business plan, they say, what's your uniques? We have 3. The first is exactly that. We're fully automated through email. There's no password to log into Cyberhoot to take your training. There's passwords for the administrators, of course, but just for the end user, they authenticate in the morning, they get it to their computer, they authenticate into that. Maybe they also authenticate into email. Sometimes they're tied together, but we know who they are because we send them an encrypted URL that is unique for Rob and Tim and Brian. And so you click your link and it greets you by name, right? We know that phishing attacks are, dear customer, please click this link. We say, Brian, here's your training. We also preface that initial response with an announcement email that the client or the CEO of the company sends out to the employee. So all employees know, hey, our company's on board with Cyberhoot. When you get the link, you must click it, you must take it. So we're fully automated around email delivery of that email, of that training link. And so you click the link, you watch the video, take a quiz, electronically sign your name. It's all certifiable that this person did it on this date and time, IP addresses tracked, everything else. So it could stand up in a court of law if you needed that. But it goes beyond that kind of automation too, Brian, because if you don't do your training, we'll remind you. And then the other unique is that if you don't do it and it's due today, your manager will get an email saying, hey, Tim didn't do his training, Brian. You should be aware of that. A week later, HR can get an email at your discretion. You can say, turn that off, but HR could get an email that says, hey, Tim still hasn't done his training. We've sent him 3 emails. What's going on? Oh, and you say to HR, Tim's on jury duty. He's not going to be around for 3 months. So you can archive him, turn it off. You're all set. Or Susie is on maternity leave. So full automation.
And what I'm really seeing there is it reduces the friction too, right? You're really getting to the point where this stuff is automated. People are being notified the right way, and you're not forcing the adoption like you have to force an adoption when somebody has to go into a portal, sign in, sit down and do it. We're really making it, kind of an interrupt process, but an interrupt process in a way with some teeth to it, right? So
exactly.
No, it definitely, that's where I saw something unique, because you see all these other trainings where you're forced up to a portal, and it really becomes incumbent on the user to understand technology a little bit too. And we want to do this training at all the points in an organization. Think about the weak points that you have, like the lady at the front desk who really her only technical skill is able to pick up the phone. But she has some email too. And now she's your biggest concern because she also has time.
Right. Yep, we've all been there and seen that.
Well, that's awesome. So in terms of, you talked a little bit about the market. So you partner very heavily with MSPs then. That's
I prefer MSPs. We do have a direct, but listen, if you're an MSP, if you're a client of an MSP and you come direct, I would sooner turn the responsibility for managing that client over to the MSP. Who knows, maybe I'd sign another MSP into the tool, because I think for us to really affect change, our motto is to become more aware, to become more secure. We really want to change the world around us and help everyone become more secure. We can't do that direct one at a time. We need to leverage the power, scope, and breadth of the MSPs so that they bring the message. We just sort of give them the template and they execute for their clients. And it's interesting, MSP re-signings year over year is at like 95, 96% for some of our MSPs versus like a comparison group of 80 to 85% that aren't in Cyberhoot. So there's a lot of value that is added to that MSP relationship by bringing a tool like Cyberhoot to the table.
I think for the MSP too, and both the MSP and their end user customer, it becomes very sticky because there's always transition within your staff, right? There's people that are coming and going. So my assumption would be that within your tool, not everybody's necessarily at the same spot in the training program either. And depending on when they come into it, they're part of the funnel of training that then is deployed to them. So you can see how you would retain MSPs just for no other reason than it's kind of a process that never stops and feeds upon itself. Would you agree?
I would agree. We, of course, give our product away under NFR to our MSPs because they need to be aware of the training. They need to be secure themselves. Listen, they have the biggest risk to any of the clients they serve by having the keys to the kingdom. So if they're not secure, then the clients they try to sign into the tool, they putting them at risk. So we give Cyberhoot to the MSP in order for them to govern and train and test. We have dark web reporting on exposed accounts as well. I didn't mention that. We even do assessments in Cyberhoot. It's a pretty well-rounded circle. You can do a risk assessment, third party or your own self through the tool.
And we were talking a little bit about that too in our last episode. One of the things the MSPs really got to remember is they're part of the downstream process with their customers. So if their customers are being held to some compliance standard, they really need to be there too. So if they're selling this to even one customer, it's really kind of telling you, look, if you're selling security awareness to a customer and they're bound to do security awareness, you probably need to do the same thing as the chain of custody of some of their information. So we're hearing more and more about that as people, obviously mature in the security cycle here in the MSP space and in the SMB community. So Craig, it kind of brings us to the next question in life though. Every great business starts with some sort of catalyst event. And, we'd like to hear a little bit about, kind of what drove you to decide to open up, Cyberhoot. I think it starts with a little breach you might've known about.
Yeah, it's true. I guess just to answer that with a little more color, I've always been faulted for sticking up for the little guy in the world, right? The person that no one else sticks up for. If I was at a dance when I was a kid, I'd go and dance with the one girl left by herself in the back of the room, or, just try to help out, make the world a little better place. Being in a Fortune 5000 company, I dealt with my share of breaches. They happened, but I was the family member that everyone went to say, hey, what do I do? My email, I can't get into my email. Someone's taking it over, this and that. About 7 years ago, I started helping a lot of small businesses in that space. And I just realized as we started talking, I think before the call, they just don't have a fighting chance today. There's no learning management system, cybersecurity system that's been built for the SMB, the 5 to 500 or 1,000 employee company. Most of the biggest companies of the world are focused on the enterprise. They want to sell 10,000 seats or 100,000 seats. And it's the SMBs that are breached more often. So I was helping out in a breach recently. Actually, I was brought in to consult. And then while I was consulting, they had a breach, and I was, what's going on? Well, our new HR person was buying gift cards. Well, how many gift cards? 100, 1,000? $26,000 worth of gift cards. I have them to this day. I keep them on me because it's a good reminder of what can happen without any awareness training whatsoever. So this woman, or man, I forget what, was contacted by the CEO, quote unquote, of the company about an end of the year bonus that was going to be happening, and to buy as many gift cards in $100 increments as possible, scratch the backs off, take a picture, send it to him. And it said the CEO's name, and they hadn't done any training on phishing attacks or social engineering or any of that. And she maxed out her company card. She got an extension on that. She maxed out her personal card. She did this about a dozen times before someone asked, what are you doing? $26,000 later, I said, I have to start a company that can just spend the 10 minutes per, you would only need one 10-minute interval with Craig or Cyberhoot to never do that, right? Because you can learn that, hey, someone can fake the name of an email and say, hey, I'm busy, I'm going into a meeting, but could you give me a call when you get, can you email me when you get a second? And then I need you to get these cards, right? Happens all the time. Yep. So I created Cyberhoot to help the SMB, the fact that Verizon, Symantec, all these other companies say 15 times more likely to be breached an SMB is. And who helps the SMBs the most? The MSP, the managed service providers, are the IT engine of the world's SMBs. So I thought, let me build a product that helps the MSP automatically orchestrate a full cybersecurity program for each SMB they have, multi-tenant, tied into Azure AD, phish testing, all the different things that you might ever need. And I'll build it. And so I've done that over the last 7 years. Now, I used it for just myself at first. I was like, I was a CISO at an MSP here in New England. And I was just using it with their clients and trying to refine it, build it, make it better, and make it automatic and build, just make it so my life was easier. A year and a half ago, I opened it up to everyone else because people were starting to ask for it. And we went this past year from 4 resellers to about 54 resellers in the pandemic, COVID. Wow. So things are happening. People are really finding the ease of use to be something they need in their MSP.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's not just the MSP's clients. I have an MSP whose brand new employee did exactly that. Fell for that exact phishing scam. Brand new employee, the CEO sent him an email, and gosh, on his personal credit card, he sent it out because he didn't want to make the CEO mad. And they were an MSP. Imagine how embarrassed they were, right? Yeah. And it's just, it happens, man. And it's not just the SMB, but it's the MSPs have to learn how to use this to,
right.
Make sure it happens. It's crazy.
That's part of their onboarding, right? When we assign a new MSP, we onboard them. We take them through setting up everything for themselves. We record that session and then we assign it through the tool because it's an open. There's the last unique. It's an open tool. You can put any video you want into it. So any YouTube video, any product video. We have training programs on products, but we record that onboarding as we set up the policies for the customer, the videos for the customer, the phish testing for the customer, the dark web for the customer. We record that so they can always go back and reference it. We assign that video to them and an administrative program. They're ready to go because they've been in it. They've been using it. And it's, all the automation is there.
$26,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally, When you
I
see the
just can't
thickness of
even,
that,
yeah.
And that
I mean,
person
that's a
thought they were
lot
doing
of
such a
type.
good
Yeah,
job,
and
and they were
just like, hell
so
yeah,
proud of
I
themselves.
am, yep.
You know, they
They
went
were
back to
thinking,
their
I am
spouse at the end of the day
crushing
and were
this.
bragging about how they crushed it. Oh,
Oh
I'm
my
smiling
God.
because I've had fun the other way
That
with
is
that. I've been the recipient of that
cringeworthy.
email, and I love to go back and forth with the guys on the other side. Oh, how many cards do we need to get? And then the guy will be like, let's start with 10. And then I'll go back. I was thinking Joe over in accounting, he's really not an iTunes guy. We should think about getting him an Amazon card, and you just play this little game of volley back
See
and
how long
forth
you can
until,
go for.
until you see how many times they'll reply before they quit, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, before they give up.
that's my fun in life sometimes
Yeah.
when I'm sitting
Yeah.
bored. But anyway, that's an amazing bag of tricks. And for those of you that are listening to it on the podcast, I suggest you go up to our website or our YouTube channel just to see this bag.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was huge.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about this a little bit. And, Craig, I know we've talked about this in the past. How can you get MSPs to be stronger salespeople? How do you enable, this product to be sold out in the marketplace? Because anytime I see a product that requires some level of adoption or is explaining something that may be theoretical, and I say that from experience over my head here at VCIO Toolbox, how do you get people to really jump in and say, let's make this happen? So, I'd be interested to hear how you're doing that.
It's a question that I ask myself every day because the one thing that stands in the way of training the end user at all those SMBs is really the sales enablement process. And if we were like perfect at it, I would have thousands of customers and thousands of MSPs, but it's a hard nut to crack sometimes because, I liken the cybersecurity industry today to the old fable, the emperor has no clothes on. Business owners, MSPs, they're all walking around online naked and they don't know it, right? Because they just don't know how attacks occur and what simple things they ought to do to fix it. And so my job is to go in there and talk to the MSP and say, look, for 5 minutes a month, if you watch one video a month, in about 2 or 3 months, I can affect a cultural shift in your organization from ignorance to confidence when it comes to cybersecurity. You all know that cybersecurity matters, but you don't know why or what to do about it. My tool is going to automate that whole thing. And still, I've talked to customers, I think I was mentioning to you, for 2 years, and they've said, no, I don't need training, can't do training. There's this reason, that reason, so on. One of the tricks that I used for them for that sales enablement was to do a free phishing test of their employees. They said they didn't want it. They didn't want to do the training. They didn't want this or that. It was a healthcare provider. And yet I did that phishing test. And in about a day, when they saw the results, like 12 people had clicked and entered credentials out of 300. They were like, okay, where do we sign? Done. But you had to show them the evidence because we could talk about it and they could come up with another reason for why they didn't or couldn't do it. But that's one thing. But listen, I would be interested in your ideas. How does Rob and Tim, how do you deal with the sales enablement in your businesses? Because it's something that we all struggle with. And I'm sure MSPs out there listening to this struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. It is that ignorance to confidence line. And if the rep or the owner can't get past question 1 or 2, they're dead in the water and they're never going to bring it up other than just like make it a line item. So it's just the education. And that's the real hard part is, MSPs, they have that higher education when it comes to security, but it's hard to explain it to a prospect. And it's getting them to like role play it a little bit, understand it, and being able to discuss it. And that's the hardest part that we see that Tim and I have to work with people about.
Yeah, I mean, I would say one thing that MSPs during the sales process could do better is create stories, right? I mean, we push that all the time when we're working with somebody. Like you've got to, like that, what you just said is a great story. And if somebody just leads with features, but they don't give a benefit or give an example of why or what that means to them, then you're kind of dead in the water. You've got to be able to tie it back to real life occurrences. So if you can pull from stuff like that, I mean that it's worth its weight in gold.
Yep.
It just is.
Another area that I've tried in the past, Tim and Brian, Rob, was to pull out the report when you go to sit down with a company, if they're on the fence over doing awareness training and cybersecurity, you can load into Cyberhoot's homepage their email address if you're sitting down with somebody, and you can put in the owner or anyone in the meeting's email address and get a report from Cyberhoot today for free, no obligation, on their dark web report. So all their exposed accounts, keeping in mind that the exposed accounts we're checking, there's about 10 billion accounts that have been breached and exposed that are public knowledge in the Have I Been Pwned website that we API and partner with to get the details. We'll give you a nice little report, but I sometimes see owners that are a little bit upset seeing their compromised accounts saying, are you trying to hack me or stuff? So you got to use that one a little carefully. But it underscores the importance of certain things that MSPs ought to be doing, which is pushing clients to adopt password managers. That's the only way to deal with password hygiene today. When you have, my password manager has 500 accounts in it. If it has, it has to have 500 or more accounts, and everyone is unique. Everyone is a random string. I have a confession to make. I have been phished successfully with a LinkedIn recommendation. I'm a cybersecurity professional, 25 years. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I got a recommendation coming back from a vacation one time in a thread of 100 emails. And I was like, oh my God, Joe wrote me a recommendation. How cool is that? I click the link, it goes to LinkedIn to log me in, and my password manager just sits there dumb as a post. I'm like, refresh. And on the second refresh, I look at the URL. I'm on a server in Italy, and my password manager doesn't put my credentials in because I'm not on LinkedIn. But if I knew my password, I was as good as golden. I would have given up my password. I no longer know any of my passwords. So, MSPs that push a password manager, there's lots of hidden benefits, like even that one, that can save you. In addition to just making sense, it's a productivity tool well ahead and beyond any security tool as well, because you just launch the site and you're logged in. So, all of that is built into Cyberhoot. We have programs that teach you how to run a password manager, how to deploy it, product training videos from Microsoft and others. I could go on all day. I don't want to bore your listeners, but yeah, we're working really, really hard here to try and help MSPs be successful in cybersecurity and selling it. The sales enablement process is still one that's tricky. It's hard for us.
And one of the things the MSP will tell you too, it's also incumbent on their customers. One of the real realities in the SMB space is everybody loves to talk security, but a lot of the customers don't want to put their money where their mouth is. Now, the good news, I think, for a company like yours, Craig, you don't break the bank for a client too. So there's a lot of upside, through the awareness training that you're getting and taking some of the risk off the table without the cost of putting in a security event management system or building out to an external SOC or even upgrading a firewall to a next level. It's a different magnitude. So
may I comment on that for a moment?
Sure, please.
All those high-end technologies are appropriate if you're in the defense contract seeking CMMC certification, a SIM, a security incident event monitor, intrusion prevention systems, intrusion detection systems, a next-gen firewall. All that stuff is important if you're doing those things. But if you don't have basic cybersecurity buttoned up with awareness training and governance, you're just one click away from being breached. And yeah, your SIM will catch it, but it's too late. You're already compromised. So, you have to look at the maturity of a company, and most companies in the SMB space have unfortunately, very low cybersecurity maturity. So start simple at your MSP, pick off the easiest, but the most effective. Look, almost all MSPs today are flat rate. And if you could save yourself 2 or 3 security incidents a quarter, or maybe even a month, you're going to be much more profitable by having educated your clients so they don't click, so they don't have a ransomware. Not to mention ransomware has evolved in the last 18 months to export your data. You look at the statistics for 2020 ransomware payments. It's gone through the roof because of the threat to confidentiality. That's another big change in the industry. If you're an MSP and you're doing a great job of backups, no longer good enough. Because if your data is released online and you're a healthcare provider, guess what? You got a HIPAA fine. You've got all kinds of hurt. So you're going to pay the fine. You're going to try and get your data deleted or removed and not published online. So there's all kinds of reasons and benefits to do the simple things right with awareness training, governance policies, that sort of thing.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Brian.
Well, we're getting to about that time, guys. So at this stage, we have a little bit of fun now, Craig. Tim's going to take you through the speed round.
Yes,
All right.
we've just got 5 questions, all just quick hitters. First thing that comes to mind, basically, with all of them. First one is talk, text, or Teams.
Teams.
Okay. Music, movies, or TV.
Oh, through COVID, only Netflix has saved me. So TV.
You know what? I appreciate that because you're one of the first guys that'll fess up to it. Everybody else, they're not big TV watchers.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll tell you, I've seen more than I want to during this COVID
I'm
break.
at the end. I'm at the end of the search.
Yeah, I've come to the end of Netflix.
Yeah.
What age do you want to retire?
What age? 55.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mac or Windows?
Windows, if I may. That's why Cyberhoot's open.
Yeah.
Open platform.
That's fair.
Windows.
That's fair.
What drives the problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you could do anything outside of tech, what would it be?
Oh, that would be awesome. I would take myself on a mountain biking tour of the world and mountain bike Madrid and Switzerland and South America, all over the world. I love to mountain bike, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
It's safe. My
Yeah.
dog loves to go with me. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
So I do have one more. Growing up in St. Catharines, Sabres or Leafs?
Oh, Leafs all the way.
Yeah, I figured.
It's the pain that won't go away. They have lost since '67, as long as I've been alive, But I'm a Bruins fan now, being in the Northeast, and I just love watching hockey. It's a great pastime.
And I will say, for those of us, our listeners that know Tim's passion for hockey, Rob had the greatest line in our pre-interview today. And I'll let you put it out there, Rob. What did you say earlier today? Just to kind of stick it to Tim a little bit?
Craig's the first one to ever out-hockey Timmy.
So we're happy. If nothing else, Craig, you came on to give Timmy his match.
Yeah.
Only in desire, probably not skills.
So with that said, Rob, why don't you close us out?
Well, Craig, I really appreciate you being here for today. And for anyone who is looking to get in touch, we will be including the LinkedIn profile with the podcast. Also, this episode will be on mspbusinessschool.com and anywhere you get your podcast, to include YouTube. So please, subscribe and like there. Craig, are there any closing thoughts that you have before we break away today?
Yeah, start simple, everyone. Don't try to build Rome in a day. You've got to start with the simple, easy things. That's where I've tried to build Cyberhoot with actually an Apple-esque interface. There's no manuals on how to run the thing. It's simple. So start doing the simple things like awareness training, some governance policies, phish testing, and you're off to the races. You're raising that maturity of every company you put in the tool so quickly and so effectively. They'll be very, very happy with you. You're going to see a lot of value add there.
So we always say action is better than inaction. Take that first step and get the simple one going.
100%.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you very much. And as always, thank you very much, guys. And we'll be talking soon.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks for
All
coming
right.
on.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
All right. Bye.